What happens when forever ends? When the partnership you thought would last a lifetime unravels, and suddenly you're left to rebuild your identity, your family, and your future. Welcome back to Who Are You Now? And to our mini series, The Unexpected, where we're exploring the life changes that you never planned for, the roles you never expected, and the truths that rise when life takes a turn. Today, we're sitting with one of the most profound of these shifts, divorce. And my guest, Belisa Davis, knows this journey firsthand. After 16 years of marriage, she faced the end of her partnership and the beginning of an entirely new life, navigating separation, redefining family with her daughters, becoming the sole provider, and ultimately rebuilding herself into a stronger, more grounded version of who she is today. This is not a how-to. It's an honest story of endings, choices, and becoming. Hi, Belisa.
Hi.
Welcome
Thank you
to
for
the
having
show.
me. Yes.
So it's a heavy subject,
It
and
is.
we're both divorced, so there might be a little bit of commingling, but I really wanted to have you on because so many women end up going through the same thing you are, because you were an at-home mom for those 16 years.
Well, so we were married almost actually 18.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So but for 16, that's when I had my oldest. So yes, I was essentially for the most part a stay-at-home mom. I worked for my family's foundation, part-time for the most part. As a stay-at-home mom, I supported his business and the kids.
So can you tell me, as you got towards the end of that, when you're having issues, you're not seeing eye to eye anymore, when you got to the point where divorce is now the only option?
I think that, well, one, it wasn't an easy decision. It was okay, well, I guess we know things aren't going well. And looking back in hindsight, you could see that there was more cracks in our foundation that we just didn't notice. Things were just good enough. So we just kept going because we did have a really good life. We had great community. Our kids were doing well. We had friends. We had a lot of similar interests, and then things started just to get progressively worse. It was just we just were not as compatible as we were. And as the kids started to get older, they weren't around as much. So then it was just the two of us. And when we had this extra time with each other, we just didn't necessarily do things together.
Same.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, I want to go off and do whatever I want. And I was like, okay, bye.
Right.
See you when you're done.
It's like you stopped fitting.
Yeah.
And the kids were the glue, or the family or the community, or, lifestyle. And then when they start shifting away from needing the family glue in that sense, you start realizing man, we actually don't fit. My perspective, everything revolved around the kids, good, bad, or ugly, as far as the family unit.
Yeah.
And I didn't forget, but we didn't put enough into the partnership of just being husband and wife, because it's really hard when people are working and you're trying to get everything done. So of course the kids come first. So from my perspective, I probably didn't put enough into just us as a partnership, but I'm not sure that even if I had tried, that would have been reciprocated.
With my ex-husband, he always said when we first got together, he knew we didn't have the same interests. I wasn't going to go dawn patrol. Deep water scares me. I wasn't going to go parachuting. There were things that I would do. I'd go camping for a couple of days, but I'm not going camping for 6 months on the Pacific Crest Trail. That's just not going to be me. And then all of a sudden he was like, I didn't think it mattered that we didn't have the same interests. I didn't think I needed somebody to do the things that I wanted to do as long as you didn't stop me from doing them. You never stopped me from doing them. But now I think I might want somebody to go do it with me. And that's not going to be you.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yeah, you knew that. None of this is new information.
Right.
And I think because he was active duty for the first 10 years of our marriage, he was never home.
Mm-hmm.
So when he was home, everything revolved around the kids, because it couldn't have just been him and I, because he'd already missed so much time with them. And so everything was oh, it's supposed to be this family unit where you had to make up for all that lost time. And so that's what we did. And so there was never oh, we're going to go on vacation by ourselves. We're going to do anything by ourselves. I think the first time we probably went away by ourselves, overnight for a wedding, our kids were in middle school. And it was one night. And it was oh my gosh, this is crazy. Can't believe we just did this.
Yeah. And we didn't make a priority we didn't really have help. So it was just us here. I didn't have any family close.
Yeah.
His family was on the East Coast. Mine is in Arizona. So you don't do babysitters.
Yeah.
right? You don't get to have someone come and stay with your kids for a week while you go. We did maybe one trip where I actually flew or drove the kids to Arizona so my sister could watch them. And we hiked the Grand Canyon with a big group, but that was it. Everything else was family. The whole family is going to be together.
Yeah.
Do you find that looking back, that was detrimental to the marriage? Not the family, but the marriage?
I think so, because it became a habit where we never prioritized each other. And then we just continued to fall into that. And then the kids, and rightly so in many aspects, they were the sole focus for both of us.
Well, and I think that's normal when they're little.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're just trying to make it all work.
And then every phase of childhood is still needs you. Like when they became teenagers, they still needed us like almost way more than they did when they were toddlers.
Agreed.
In a different sense. And so it's like my emotional bandwidth was definitely towards them.
Mine too.
And I was like, okay, dude, you need to handle yourself over there because I have to go take care of these two.
That's right.
I understand you want lunch too, but grab a sandwich. So I think in some aspects, I probably could have been a little bit more conscientious of some of that stuff because I did give most of my energy towards the girls.
You know what I did that opposite ends of the spectrum, but I just lumped them in with the kids. So, I mean, I was busy, I was like in the clinics and the PT and I was actively treating and I was still trying to go to the honor roll things and the jogathon. Right. So I just lump them in with the kids. So like, if I'm doing dinner for everybody, but you're getting what they're getting and I think he got very used to being taken care of.
Well, one thing like I discovered as I got, probably more so when I was divorced, I'm a little bit of an enabler. And so like, even when I look back, I'm like, I actually can't fault him for some of that behaviors that he did because I encouraged it. I was like, oh yeah, don't worry. You don't have to do that because I got it. I'll take the trash to the curb. I'll do all the house repairs because, well, one, I was already better at it. But then two is like, I can just do this on my own. So I continued just to move as if he was not home.
So even though he came back after that first 10 years of active military, you just ran the household.
Everything.
Yeah, same.
And I wouldn't ask him for stuff, which I think like maybe I should have,
well, even like Glenn would take a kid to the dentist and they'd want to make the next appointment. And he'd always be like, I have to ask the commissioner. So he didn't want any of that part of it. He was fine if, hey, this person has this, or orthodontist or that, and he would take them, but he didn't engage in any part of the master schedule or who can take who when. It was always me managing. And so he was helping. And he even said that at one point. I always thought I was just sort of helping out. Are they helping out in what way? Like you're their dad. We're like supposed to be a partnership. And so you started to see those fractures of just thinking differently. I mean, men and women do think differently, enabling in some senses, right? And then when you're trying to back yourself out of it, I don't want to say it's too late, but it's hard if that other person isn't ready to shift also.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the not fitting starts coming in.
Yeah. And I mean, and he never did any of that. He would go like when the kids were like super sick, like there was a couple times he went to the doctors with me, but no doctor's appointments, no dentist appointments, no dentist appointments. That was all me. All school meetings were just me. If he had time or if he was in town, he would come. And it wasn't like he didn't want to do it. I just never asked him. I was like, oh yeah, I got this. You go do you. I'm doing this part and I don't need anything. So I think on that hyper independence part, just because it was again a pattern that we got into, it never shifted, which I do think in some aspects, like looking back now, probably didn't always make him feel like he was wanted or needed.
Yes, agreed. And it's nice because we both have enough distance that you can look at those things without any emotion from that time period and say, oh, yeah, I'm going to own my part. It doesn't mean that it's my fault, but I will own my part because I also think that's a part of our ability to move on and grow as humans.
Absolutely.
After those experiences or relationships end, like any relationship, to be able to self-reflect and say, I'm going to look at my stuff, but I'm going to keep what's not mine also.
100%. You have to, because you can't carry like the weight of both people, and you're not supposed to. Like all you can do is be accountable. Okay, yeah, there's some stuff that I know that I did wrong. I wasn't perfect. No. Was I a really good wife? Absolutely. And I know that I was, but there were things that I know that I didn't always do right. But I also know in many aspects, like, I don't know if I was also right for him at that time. And that's okay. And I can be okay with that now.
And so let's talk about how that process to the season of divorce. So you guys actually did try some counseling. Did you do counseling on your own as well as marriage counseling?
Yeah. So we both did. I had gone in and I was doing a lot of my own work for myself because I'd lost my dad in my 20s. And there's a lot that I didn't do on that work. I thought I had done everything right at the beginning. And, you know, like 16 years later, I was like, oh, there's still some hurts in here that I need to do. So I dove in. I was doing a ton of EMDR therapy. I was getting to where I was in a really good space. And I was like, okay, we need to now work on us. And he was launching a new business and he was so busy. And that's really when I noticed like all the cracks in our foundation that I don't think either one of us had ever noticed were there before. Yes, we had seasons, like we had little bad moments because all marriages do. Then all of a sudden it was kind of like, whoa, can this be fixed? And I was determined. I was like, oh, we are fixing this because my kids are not going to be in a divorced home. I am not going to do that. He had already been divorced once and he had always said, I'm never divorcing you.
Right.
That is never an option. Don't throw it out there.
Nobody
Don't expect
goes
it.
in thinking that it's even an option, though.
Of course
right?
not. Nobody gets married to be like, oh, I'm going to get divorced.
I hope not. Or like, well, we'll just see how it goes. Because especially when the kids come, it's like you stay much longer than you might have without the kids because you have more people to think about and what's going to happen with that dynamic.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So what happened in therapy?
So we tried. We went to multiple therapists because he was like, nope, that one's not working for me. And so I went to this other one. And that's the one who I was going to like independently. And she was like, okay, yes, I'll see both of you guys together. And so we really tried. And then one day we were supposed to be going, it was Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. That's all I can remember is because it was going into the holiday weekend. So maybe it was like that Tuesday afterwards. I don't know, just around that time. He was staying at his office for the most part. And I was like, hey, remember we have counseling today? And he was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And I was like, what do you mean you're not going to make it? Like, we're going to make it to this. So he's like, I just don't know if I want to. And so I went and I had told her, the counselor, hey, it might just be me, but I'm on my way. He shows up and you could smell, had gone out the night before and I could still like smell alcohol. And I was just like, okay, so that's why you didn't want to come. Mm-hmm. And he was just like, I just don't really want to be here. And I was baffled and I'm just looking at him. I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I just don't think I can do this. I don't want to be, I am not living my authentic life. And I want to be able to live a life with no compromise.
Compromise or responsibility?
Compromise.
Okay.
And responsibility, he's great at. Mm-hmm. Like he truly is. He's like, I don't want to have to compromise. I want to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it. I just need to be authentically me. And I was kind of baffled because like, when have I ever said no to you doing anything? I probably should have said no in the past, but I didn't. Like he would call me like, oh, he'd be on a trip and be like, oh, hey, I'm going to extend for 4 more days. I'm gonna go do this instead. And I'd be like, all right. Mm-hmm. Or he'd call me like, hey, will you change my flight information, my flights? Cause I'm going to do this. I would just do it. I never said no. I was very accommodating and maybe too accommodating. And that moment I was just like, I don't understand. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And I don't want to try anymore. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. Cause I was just like, first was like, my ego was hurt. All my feelings were hurt. And then I got angry. And then what am I going to tell my kids? I have to go home and I have to look my kids in the eyes and say, this is happening. And so I took my rings off and I handed them to him. And I said, I'll always be polite and I'll be kind to you for the sake of the kids, but I'll never be your friend. And he goes, what? And I go, I will never be your friend. I'm done. And I thanked the counselor and I'm like, you can meet me at lunch and we're going to discuss the details. And I walked out of the office and then we met for lunch and we wrote everything out that we could kind of agree upon on a napkin at the Cheesecake Factory.
The napkin.
And then I was like, we have to go tell the girls. He's like, no, we don't. And I was like, we have to go tell the girls. And he was like, no, it's okay. Like, we don't have to say anything. And I was like, I can't. Like, we'd already been for the most part of a year, like living apart. Like he'd stay at the office most of the time, come home on the weekends, but he was already super withdrawing that whole time. So they knew something was up.
They always know.
They always know. And I was in a little bit more in denial than I think probably they were looking back. Like, I think they probably knew something more, except for it wasn't, they were used to him being gone and he would be like, oh, I have to work. I have to do this stuff. And they kind of just accepted it. Mm-hmm. But I was like, if this is the choice we're making right now, like I'm 100% going forward. I'm not going to wait any longer.
Yeah. It's like, okay, we're done. Why do you think, okay, so my ex did the same thing. Why do you think that he didn't think it was necessary to tell the kids?
Because I think, well, in my case, like, because he'd made promises to our kids that he would never divorce ever again. And he'd promised them multiple times, like if they'd ever hear us fight or argue. And he was like, don't worry, I'm never going to do that. And they did not take it well.
No.
And he was like,
He broke his promise to them too.
and so that was it. It wasn't just like, okay, I'm going to have a broken home. Now it was like my dad broke a promise to me, and that gutted him as much as it did them. I was like, we can't pretend.
No, Glenn did the same thing. We were very civil. It's probably one of the easiest or non-contentious divorces that I've heard of or been, obviously I've only been divorced once, but ever heard of when you hear the stories of how bad it can get. But when we had decided he didn't want to tell the kids, and at first I agreed because it was really close. The holidays were coming.
Okay.
But then I thought, I can't, like, how do you pretend you're living in the same house?
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to pretend. We've always been honest with the kids. I've always been upfront, appropriate for our relationship and their age. And so after about 4 days, I said, you know what? We're going to tell them on Sunday. Because I think I might have said it on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just couldn't, you walk around here. It just didn't make sense.
Didn't make sense.
Because if we're going to do this, it's going to happen. And it doesn't have to be mean or evil, but we're going to sit them down and tell them. And so we did it on that following Sunday. And yeah, I always thought that was weird.
Yeah, I think he just wanted to avoid it. Like, I mean, I think he wanted it, but he wanted to avoid the reality of it and what that meant for everyone. And then, like, when we told him, like the girls were hugging him and I was on one couch and he was on the other couch on the other side of the living room. And he was giving me the dirtiest look. Like, he was so mad
that he had to do
that we had to do it and that I pushed for it. And, and maybe I wasn't giving him time to come to terms with it as well. Like, for me, the minute that was said, I was like, you didn't give me a choice. I'm going to act. Mm-hmm. And maybe I should have been a little bit not as impulsive, but I was definitely like, okay, I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to try and force something that cannot be there. I am now at the point where I can only accept this, and it's going to be best for our kids to be able to know now instead of later.
They have to process also.
Yeah.
And they're people.
And their feelings matter. And how much worse would it have been if I would have told them 3 months later?
I think they might have been angry.
Yeah.
Because, I think it's always best. Again, we tell it what's appropriate for their age and our relationship, but to be as truthful as we can with them.
Yeah.
How it relates to them. Your dad loves you. Your mom loves you. We said when we sat them down, I said, we just don't fit. And they're both nodding. I couldn't say any more.
Yeah.
But we just don't fit. So we're going to, I don't know, I didn't use the term consciously uncouple, but, we are going to do this the right way. I want to say my daughter was in her senior year and Nate has been in his sophomore year. And so it was like, we're going to make sure we get you guys started. We still have made promises as a family, what we want to do for you guys, and we will see that through. So I think that helped them, but they're going through their own teenage stuff too. Mm-hmm. So there's still the anger and the processing. And I don't know, I haven't necessarily sat down with each of them to say, what did that feel like then for you?
Yeah.
I don't even think some of it they'll know till much later.
I agree 100%. Like, I barely remember that whole conversation, to be honest. I know we probably said like, hey, we both love you. We're still a family. It's just going to look a little bit differently. I know we said those things.
I'm sure.
I just don't remember like all of it. And the crazy thing was like, my kids were like, you may not tell anybody.
Really?
And they didn't tell anybody for months. Like, one of them, my youngest one, told a couple of her friends, I think, but probably like maybe a month later. The other one, my oldest, waited at least 5 months before she told anybody. So they wanted to be kept a secret. They wanted nobody to know. When they finally told their friends were like, well, what do you mean? We see your parents together all the time. Because he would still come by the house, because even though I said I'd never be his friend, I ended up being his friend. Yeah. It was just the emotions at the moment, the talking.
You're also co-parenting.
Yes.
So there's an exchange of information, and you can do it unpleasantly or pleasantly.
Yes.
And so we've always tried to keep it pleasant. Yeah, there were many, especially with Nate's hockey, because we would always go to the hockey games, and we might drive separately to be there. But I had one of the dads came up to me and said, why is your name different on TeamSnap? And I said, well, Morgan's my last name. And he's looking at me. I said, so-and-so, we got a divorce. And he was like, really? You can't tell. You guys are exactly the same. And I said, yeah, that might be part of the problem, but we're good.
Yeah.
We can show up for our kids. We can stand together and watch their game. We're not those parents that are their opposite ends.
Right.
it is about the kids and that stuff. So whatever emotions I had or resentment, not that I stuff it, I had to work through that on my own. And I didn't want that to affect the family part of that. And that's very hard to differentiate. Like, hey, I'm doing this for the kids.
Yes.
Even last year, and it's been 4 years for me. He was there for Thanksgiving and Christmas because, neither of us were dating anyone. And it was just, I thought it was better for the kids. It was easier that they don't have to go to different events. And it was fine. Is that going to be a regular practice? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Right. But that's fine because it's for the kids.
Yeah. Ours has been like almost going on 6 years, and he's come to every holiday. He's come to everything. Like, he doesn't have a lot of family that's out here. The girls were very adamant. They're like, we're not changing anything. Like, we are going to Nona's house and you guys can show up if you want to. They were like, you're not messing our stuff up. And they both gave us both like ultimatums on that. And they laid it down. They laid it down. They were very adamant. And then they were like, you can sleep on the couch, Dad, but you will be here for Christmas morning. There was no option for everything. And so it's worked, I guess. And he was married before, so I had 2 step kids. So they have 2 older siblings, half siblings, that they saw go back and forth, and they saw that dynamic and how it worked. They never wanted it for themselves, but they kind of knew what was coming. But then because the ages that they were in school, and he wasn't going to make lunches, he wasn't going to do a lot of that other stuff. They were just pretty much with me Monday through Friday, and they would see him on the weekend. And so the routine, their world didn't change a whole lot because they were already always used to being with solely me. So some stuff didn't change. Having him there every day did. But they were also used to him being gone a lot. That was the biggest thing for my son, was that I did a lot of the management of the house and making sure everybody got what they needed and so forth. But he said he missed just like coming home from hockey practice or coming home from school and his dad being there. Yeah. But had to process, how much did I really do with him? That came about 1.5 years later, because I think he was really angry, not at us, but just what his definition of family was. Because it was probably about 1.5 years. He's like, yeah, I'm trying to look at what family means to me. And I know I missed Dad when I say I miss him being around. She goes, but I didn't really ever do anything with him. And I just said, that's really interesting that you're, working through it. I just left it at that because it's not mine. Yeah. I don't take those opportunities to like rip it in, because it's not. Absolutely not. Yeah. They're your kids. They're always going to love their dad. They're always going to love you. You got to help them process if they come to you with something, but don't take the opportunity to dig the nails in or to use it as a punching bag. I don't think it's healthy for anyone. No. And it was very important for me that my kids like had a good relationship with their dad. So I did everything, and they do. They have a wonderful relationship. He's a very hands-on father. Still is. They go surfing, they go free diving, they go hiking, they go camping. I mean, they do a lot together, and they always have. So those things never changed. That's nice. So they always still had that. But I also didn't want them to ever have to choose between the two of us. Absolutely. This is not a choice. We're both your parents. You love both of us. We're always going to love you. The way we view family now is going to be a little bit different, but that doesn't change. We're still family. And I don't ever want them to have to be like, I'm afraid to have my parents in the same room. Oh gosh, no. Yeah. We did the same thing. We're still family. It looks different. Yeah. So how does it look different in your household now? My definition of family has always been really broad, mainly because I was raised in a group home that my parents started, and there was between 80 to 100 of us. And growing up, we were all family. Like, we just didn't know any different. None of us realized that we weren't the same nationality or ethnicities. Right. We're just like, hey, you're a little bit darker than me. I don't know why, but there was just never a question. And so I have many family members that they're not like biologically related to me, but they're my family. I have ones that maybe they're not adopted, but they've come into my life and they've walked alongside of me. I consider them my family. Being biologically related to somebody, that makes you related. It doesn't make you family. No. And so there's a difference. Family is a choice. And so it can look different. Like, his ex-wife is one of my closest friends. I love her dearly. She is an amazing mom. She was amazing support to me when I was trying to figure out how to be a stepmom. And then when I became my own mom, and she comes to Christmas and Thanksgiving too with her current husband. So it's like, I'm thankful for the fact that my definition was already so broad to begin with. And I can now look at my ex-husband. I can be like, you're always going to be my family. And even at the very beginning, when I was super angry, and outside of that first couple of weeks, everything else was super smooth. But those first couple of weeks, I was not nice. I mean, that was probably like as mean as I was when I said that to him. It was probably like the worst thing that I said to him, because to me that was really hurtful because I knew that was going to hurt him by saying that. And I did say it. So I have to own up to that one because that was not nice. But family now is like the people that you're going to choose to have into your life. They've already grew up in that. And I want them to know that too. And I want them to know that I will always view their dad as part of my family because he's part of theirs.
Same. And I think it's a really healthy way so kids don't have to choose. And it's already hard enough for them to process. They get scared. They don't know what this broken family is supposed to look like. But when they see the bits and pieces of all the people that we've collected on the way that are family because we chose them, because they're good humans, then they can also embrace that as they build their own families.
Yeah.
But know that you pick and choose. So like your mom and dad are always going to be family. Even if we're not together, we can exist in the same room. We're actually quite friendly.
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't say we're best friends, but we have to communicate because of the kids anyway. And we probably always will, even though my kids are considered adults now, like staying in the loop.
Oh, absolutely. My kids are adults now too. And we still communicate. And when it's college move-in day, like we're both there.
Yeah,
and like an 8-hour drive together. And I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting.
We shared an Airbnb when Nate moved in, and we did the same thing. We shared a hotel rooms when we moved Lucy when she went, but we were not together, but we both showed up for their move-in days and and did the dinners and the tours. So I think those things are still really important.
Yes, I agree.
Get past your own issues within the partnership that didn't work, because the family doesn't have to fail just because the partnership didn't work.
Yeah, 100%. Like for me, it was a very conscious choice. Like, I mean, I look back and I'm so thankful that I did so much work on myself before I got divorced, like before that happened, because I had already come to a lot of understanding about myself. And I was very much like, I am choosing not to keep being angry. I had already carried so much anger over having lost my dad. And like in this scenario, because I made that conscious choice, it made it really easy for me not to be angry at him. Yes, I can look back and I can be like, oh, I wish things would have been different, or I should have said this, or he did certain things there that wasn't right. But one, I didn't feel any desire to place blame. I didn't feel any desire to be like, I need to prove you wrong and that you chose to leave our marriage. I didn't want to be the blame on him. And I selfishly, I did that for me. I didn't do it for him, but I knew to make me whole. And I had to let go of that because a lot of it was stuff that I was internalizing, stuff I had in our 20 years together that I had planted little tiny seeds of resentment. And I had this giant forest inside of me that had grown that I never acknowledged. I never brought up. I never tried to deal with it. So, when I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm going to make a conscious choice right now to figure out how to let that go. And it was so freeing for me. I'm not even saying it was easy, but it was easy because as soon as I made it, I just felt so much more relief off of me and so much pressure off of me. And I was like, okay, I got this.
Do you think that you would have been able to come to that as quickly as you did without having had doing the therapy on your own?
No.
And building those tools?
No, I could not have, because I would not have addressed the stuff that I already knew that was not even related to my marriage. Like all the anger that I carried for my dad, all like we all have trauma. Nobody gets through life without trauma. Right. And it's all relative, but like different things. And I was not good at confrontation. I had never seen confrontation. My parents didn't ever fight in front of us. My dad would just not talk to you for like 3 days if he was mad at you. And that was like, now you're like, ooh, that's not good either, but there was never so I didn't know how to argue. I didn't know how to voice my opinions. I was never taught that. I never saw that. So when he would clearly voice his opinions and his arguments, I didn't even know how to fight back. And so I would just be like, okay, and I would just take it all in. And that wasn't good either. It would have been much better if I would have been able to have been in touch with my feelings and my thoughts and been like, okay, hey, we need to have a conversation about this. But I didn't. So unpacking all of that and recognizing that where my role in that was before I got divorced and how much I was still allowing things with my dad to impact my everyday decisions. If I wouldn't have done that, I would have been even more of a disaster than I was, because I was a disaster. But I would have been
were able to move through that disaster period.
Yes.
With grace and fairly quickly. Maybe not grace in the very beginning, but you got to the other side of the emotional unpacking and letting go and owning and, okay, that's not mine. I'll take this. Yes, I did this, but I'm still going to let the emotion go. You went through that process much quicker.
Yes.
Than most people, like when their marriage ends in that way.
Yes.
When you think that, like, wait a minute, I thought we were both totally committed to never getting a divorce. And then one person just says, I don't want to try. There's a lot of internal anger, like,
oh,
yeah, you know?
yeah.
There's nothing to say. It's this gut punch.
It's a gut punch. I was almost like blown away. And at the same time, your ego takes this huge hit. I was like, wait, I'm sorry. What did you just say? Like me?
Yeah.
That's what you're choosing to do that to me?
Yeah.
Like I should be the one doing it to you, you know, like, so then it's like, okay, well now I want to retaliate. But yes, I did work through it much faster, and which was good for me. Is a whole lot harder for other people in my life though, honestly, because they were like, why aren't you more angry? Like they felt like they had to be angry on behalf of me because they loved me so much. And thank God that I have those people in my life, because that means that how truly blessed that I am.
Yeah.
But when I would try and explain, I was like, well, it's just because I don't care to anymore. I'm not going to let this impact me more than it already has. And it wasn't easy for people around me to understand.
Well, because they think that that means you didn't care. I think people want to see emotions, you know, because that means that you care. If you're really angry, that you care. Or if you're really having a baseline of peace, is choosing yourself first.
Yeah.
Right? And
absolutely.
so people expect to see the being contentious and the fighting, and you're not fighting for whatever, how he didn't treat you or how he treated you. And so when you're doing your own work and your peace is more important, it's much easier. But I don't think that people don't really necessarily understand, like, well, did you ever care? You know? And that's not their business. And if they really want to ask me if they're close to me, then ask and I'll tell you.
Like, I mean, they would get like, oh, you're doing it for the girls. I'd be like, oh, well, yes.
Sort of.
Yes, they would be like my top priority. Like they were still 100% my top priority. But at the same time, I was like, I have to do it for me as well. Only because I knew that this was a defining moment, but this was not going to be the defining moment that like defined me always. And how I chose to move forward was going to say a lot more about me and who I am and who I wanted to be and where I'm going to continue to grow and go in. And so it was very deliberate. I remember having lots of conversations with myself about this. But that doesn't mean that I didn't spend nights sobbing. I'd put my kids to bed. And at that time, like all doors had to be open because they were like, I need to see you. I need to know that you're here. And I'd cry silently in my room. I would cry in the shower. I would take the kids to school and I would sit in the driveway and cry because I didn't want to go in the house because I was by myself. Like learning how to like sleep in a house by myself, you know, all these things that I was like, I don't know how to do this. I've never had to do it in my life because I shared a room my entire life. And then I got married. There were so many firsts and it was like so overwhelming, but I also really felt like I couldn't share that with a lot of people because they were already so worried about me, including my kids, including my friends and my family. So I was like, I have to just pretend. As soon as I leave this house or my bedroom or the shower, I have to be somebody different so that nobody knows what I'm really doing.
Nobody knew?
I mean, like they suspected, but I did a really good job of holding things in. And by a good job, more than the right thing to do. Because by the time it all finally came out, like when I got to a space, like, but it's also kind of like, that's my MO. I internalize a lot. I have to process a lot. Then I'll be able to be like, okay, now I can talk about this. And there were times I would share, but there was a lot of times that I didn't share because I didn't want people to worry about me more than they already did. But at the same time, when I realized like, if I'm not giving them anything, they were still worrying because they're like, she's not saying anything or she's not doing anything. And so then I found that balance, like, okay, now I can say a little bit here and it's not going to make them worry any more or any less. It keeps everything baseline. And it worked for me to start figuring out how to share. But then it was really hard because I don't want to air our dirty laundry. I was raised to not do that.
Exactly. That's exactly. When I finally started talking about stuff with my marriage stuff with one of my best friends who I've known actually since we were 8.
Oh, wow.
We walk the beach trail all the time. I actually moved down to San Clemente to be closer to her at first, and it's totally become our community. It must have been maybe a year before, and I just finally kind of broke down. It was like, this is what's going on. I said, I'm trying to stay. I'm trying to do this. I'm thinking, okay, you know how you have that mental deadline? Like, okay, things don't change by this time.
Yeah.
And then you push it. And then and I'd said that, you don't air your business. Those are not the things that we talk about. We talk about our kids and mostly our kids and family. And there's that line. And that's how I was taught too.
Yeah.
Of you just don't talk about it.
You don't talk about it.
But what I found is by opening up to a very select few people, I didn't get judgment because you are afraid you're going to get judged too. And then you don't want them to then, oh my gosh, you make up with your spouse and then they hate them, right?
Yeah.
what I got was just an unbelievable amount of support. And that taught me a lot about human nature and my chosen friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, I can remember this. She said, Chrissy, what about your soul? And I just looked there because I'd never thought about me. It was always about the kids.
Yeah.
Right. Or what it's going to look like. Because it was something like this date. She goes, how are you going to wait that long? And it was just 100% concern about me, no judgment. And that's when I just finally said, okay, we need to pull this back in real time and really look at this. Because I'm a good kick the canner and then just focus.
Yeah.
But I was dying a little bit on the inside. And so I wasn't a good communicator in that sense with people that were around me. I don't know if I internalize. I process a lot alone. When I'm ready to speak it, I will. But
Yeah.
I feel much better about doing that now than I ever did when I was in my marriage.
Way more
Right?
now than I did when I was in. Because I was in, I was like, oh no, we have to be who everybody perceives us to be. Again, this goes back to me being like a little bit of the enabler. I didn't want anybody to have a bad opinion of him.
Same.
And so I did everything I could to not say anything really bad about him, to not say anything that I felt like that he did that somebody was going to take and make him not like him. And so
we were raised obviously the same way of like, that's just respectful.
Yes.
You know, it's not even a facade, but that's your family unit. And you just leave it as the family unit. And if you're going to talk about it with someone, it's got to be with your husband behind closed doors. We don't bring other people into our business.
Absolutely not. Stays in the family. It only stays in the family. But even within my family, I was like, if I tell some of my brothers this, they're going to lose their shit. And my mom's going to start crying. My sister's going to start crying, you know? So you're just like, okay, well, I can't even really tell them because then they are so protective over me. And if I say anything to them, they're going to react. I was really hard because I didn't want to share with them.
And then it becomes really, you're kind of trapped with it.
Yeah.
And there's an appropriate time to get a different perspective.
That's where therapy came in for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I had a lot of journaling and stuff like that. But yes, having somebody just the perspective can shift things just a little bit. Because, you know, we'll get in our heads and we'll just ruminate.
Yep. And it's hard not to and then the more we ruminate, the more it becomes fact in our mind. And then our narrative becomes our narrative and then nothing changes it. And we're like, this is how it went down because it's exactly how I remember it.
Right.
And you're not going to prove to me otherwise. You could watch a movie of it and be like, that's not what happened because you're so certain
You're just
in your mind that it was like, that's what it was. And so, and it's hard to break out of that. It's hard not to stay in that. I didn't want to be bitter. That probably came back to a pride thing if I'm being like super honest, because I was like, oh, I am not going to let you get the best of me. I'm not going to let you make me some bitter woman over this. And so watch me. But that was pride and that was ego talking because I was like, oh, hell no.
Oh, but also, listen, your natural energy, your natural presence, you and your girls are like the nicest people I've ever met. You're very kind. You just have sunny energy. And it would make me so sad if you held on to negative emotions that shifted that inner brightness that you have. I don't know if you're capable of it. And kids are basically exactly the same age.
Exactly the same age. Yes.
So like as far as school and watching them grow up and running into each other and so forth, I don't know. I don't know if you're capable of shifting into anything other than light.
I was so afraid that I was going to shift into anything but that. And so I was determined not to.
Well, in a sense, I know that's ego, but it's also good. Like you do know yourself.
Yeah.
You know that like she lives here and that everything is going to work out and I'm going to do my very best, but we live in love and we live in light. And it would have been really sad to, you know, that whole, like, you're not going to get the best of me and I'm not going to be this bitter divorced woman that everybody thinks I have cats. And but I think you would have gotten through it even if you were a little bitter because your baseline is just not, I don't know, you could drop that though, sister.
I hope so. But that's good to know. Thank you for that. But it's like, it was also the same, like when I lost my dad, I can remember just being like, I don't want to be angry. And even though I was angry, but I mean, I found myself in that same situation where I was just like, I can't let this ruin me. I can't let this break me as a person because I deserve more than that. My kids deserve more than that. The people that love me deserve more than that.
I like what you just said is that you included yourself in that. Because I think when we first start going through these shiftings and these unexpected changes, we don't necessarily put ourselves in that. We always put our kids first. Yeah. I get it. We're, you know, it's not even mama bear. It's just, oh my gosh. And our families. Oh my gosh. How are we going to tell them? My mom was in the Philippines. Oh, when all of this went down for an extended period of time. So I actually didn't tell her until she was home for about a week and settled back from jet lag. And he was like moving out in 2 weeks. And I was like, so I was in the parking lot and they said hockey. And I'm like, because, she had other things that was going on. So we put everybody, I could have used my mom during that time too. But so I'm really happy to hear that you said you put yourself in there and it wasn't going to be good for yourself and you're worth more. So
100%.
a lot of people, I don't know if that's because you had therapy or you actually have decent self-worth during that time, because we all crumbled to the ground during when it all goes. It's just like
100%.
But to hear you say, I'm worth more than that, I think it's really important for anyone going through this season and going through this is you have to do it for yourself first. And then it's for your kids and then it's for your family.
Yeah.
And so we usually do that in the reverse order. We carry our patterns into the next phase, but this is where you break it.
This is where you break it. I mean, like all of that is woven into the fabric of who I am. I am never going to get rid of it. It's always going to be part of my story and it's okay. And the reality is, like, my kids were going to go to college. They were going to get up and move out. My family all has to be able to live their lives too. Like, they can't be worried around me. So really at the end of the day, it's like me. So I had to be in that equation because it's going to just be me.
When you had the foresight for that, a lot of people don't. I mean, we do think, oh my God, we're going to be all alone at some point. But when you're in the thick of it, you're still thinking, well, they're still at home a little. They're this, like, I got time. But to be able to address like, hey, this is you. It's going to be all you. Whether it was from ego or just having the foresight, that's also really important because you had to come up with the whole plan as far as, okay, what are you going to do now? At home mom and, manager of the household. How did you get there? Was that like an identity? Let me sit with it. Was that, I got to find something to do. So I'm just going to jump in.
That was so hard. For me, there was like twofold. Like one, as a PTA mom, right? You saw me at campus all the time.
Every day.
Every day. I was everything. I had the day I was at Fisherman's and someone was like, were you a teacher at Truman? I was like, no, I was just there a lot, not a teacher. And I'm like, that's a little bit to say something how often I was at the school and all that I did. And so much of my identity was wrapped around being that mom and being a stay-at-home and having the time to go do all these things. And then to all of a sudden not have that. And not that I wasn't that person anymore, but then I felt like there was like imposters. Like, well, you're no longer married. How are you going to do this? How are you going to provide for yourself? How do you provide for the girls? You haven't done anything. I worked for the military for like 9 years, but then I'd essentially been home for 16. That is like, you can't just go back. My kids, we have no bus service. We have to take them to and from school. Like, how am I going to do this on my own? How do I pay these bills? And then COVID hit, so it's like trying to redefine, like in the middle of all of that in the stigma. Like, I think one of the biggest things that was the biggest for me was getting over that stigma of being a divorced person.
You're divorced.
And
did that make you feel ashamed?
Oh, 1,000%.
Really?
Yeah, I was. And I said, to be honest, like I still struggle with it today. Like, I was just in a meeting the other day and I was the only woman in that room not wearing a ring. And I'm looking around, I was like, oh, like that's weird. Like, that still gets me. And I didn't expect that one. I was like, that's weird. And then I perceive that people are judging me. I don't know if they are. They probably are not. That's all in my own mind. That's my self-conscious talking there though, right? But to be that identity was like, okay, well, I don't have to do all this other stuff because I have this husband who's helping do these things. I help support his business. And I did work like for him. I just didn't get paid, but it was all collectively together. And then it's like, oh, hey, my business isn't going to go so well. I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. Not you're on your own, but you're on your own. I'm going to do what I can. And I was like, okay, but we still have 2 kids. How do I do this? And where do I find my footing again? And thankfully, I did get a job that ended up being a remote job. So I was home and that still worked and I could take the kids to and from school. But then also with going back to therapy and trying to figure out my path, I was like, I have to do something that's going to allow myself to be self-sufficient because I also don't want to depend on him. That was a big thing too. I was also determined, I'm not going to depend on you for the rest of my life. I'm going to take from you right now what I have to survive, but I'm not going to take a cent more. And again, pride. But I was like, I'm not going to take a cent more from you. As soon as I don't need it, I'm not going to ask you for anything ever again for the rest of my life. And, you could have alimony. I'm like, yeah, if I don't need it, I'm not taking it. That was my initial mindset. And so I decided to go back to college. So I went back to get my master's in clinical mental health. And my first plan with it is because I wanted to help people who'd been affected by violent loss, like the way I was with my dad. And I was like, okay, if I can go back and I can just help one person heal faster than I healed, because you never get over it. But if I can help one person heal faster than I healed, it'll all be worth it. And so I started that journey of going to school, working full time, both girls at home. I don't know how I did it. Now I look back and I was like, that makes no sense
Isn't it
to
funny?
me.
People always say, how did you do that? I don't know. It's just what
You
I
just
had to do.
Yeah. I was
And
like,
then
I
look
don't have a
back and I'm
choice.
like, I don't know how I did it. I don't think I could do it now when you have those periods of really intense showing up. You just don't think about it.
You don't think about it. You just keep going. And then it got to the point too where I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I'm pretty much going to quit school. Like it's too overwhelming. It's too expensive. I'm going to have student loans. I'm going to have all this other stuff. And then I look over and I'm taking my first test and my oldest is out with her Spanish tutor at the table. And I was like, okay, I have to go take my test. And she's like, I'm so proud of you, mama. And I was like, oh,
okay, I won't quit.
Okay, I won't quit. I can't quit now because they're watching me. And that ended up being the biggest thing for me was like, I have to teach my girls that when life doesn't go the way that they planned or the way that they expect, because there's no guarantee that things are always going to go the way that they want them to, that they can pivot, they can create a great life for themselves, they can still find a path forward. And it doesn't have to be the end all. And I hope they never find themselves in a situation like where I did. But if they do, I know that they're going to have at least had an example to say, I know I can do this. And even if it's not even getting divorced, like even if it's just like they get fired, they lose their career, whatever happens, that they can pivot from their initial plan that they had set for themselves and find a new path forward.
I don't think they're ever going to forget it watching you accomplish what you've had.
Yeah, like I hope so.
Because you didn't quit school.
I did not quit school. I was not going to my graduation. And they were like, oh, you're going to your graduation.
I would have said the same thing.
I'm like, no, because it's an online school. Like, I don't need to go to my graduation. They were like, you're going to that graduation.
And we're going to walk.
And we're watching you walk. And so my mom and my girls and like my adopted aunt and uncle and my best friend all showed up. And I'm sitting in this giant auditorium, and not at one point in my journey of being through school did I give myself any credit. I was like, I'm going to an online program. It's not really school. Like, it's not really, I don't really count because I'm teaching myself. And I'm sitting in this room in this gigantic stadium, and everybody around me was so ridiculously proud of themselves. And almost all of them were like the same age as me, like roughly. We were all like adults going back. And they're wearing flags on their shirt. They're waving to their family members. They're hugging the people sitting next to them. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is kind of a big deal. And
so it didn't hit you until you're actually at your graduation.
Yeah.
That you're forced to go to.
That I'm forced to go to because I was adamant that I was not going. Right. And I'm forced to go.
Degree.
Not a real. And everybody around me was just like, they were radiating joy. They were so proud of themselves. Their families were so proud. And I was just like, okay, this is a big deal. This is a big deal that I did it.
To step into that at that point, like, okay, I did accomplish something that was almost inaccomplishable just because of all the circumstances.
Yeah, and that I never thought I would have gotten there.
And you would have never actually been able to finish if you had to actually go somewhere for school because the girls were still at home.
So
that wasn't really an option.
It was not an option. And then knowing that I had family that was like watching online. And then when I got back to my seat, I had all these text messages like from my brothers, and they're like screenshotting me like on the screen. They're like, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, holy shit, you guys mean this? Like, I thought they were just saying it, because I was like their sister.
No. Did you realize at some point during that, before it ended, like, I am proud of myself, or this actually is a big deal, not just because they're sending me messages and this and that.
Yeah.
But did it open up for you? And were you able to actually enjoy the moment?
When I walked on the stage, like when I was getting ready to go on, and when they were adjusting like that cape thing that you have to wear for your masters, and when they were adjusting that, I was like, oh, like this is for real. And then that hit me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud.
Well, did you don't walk around going, I have my master's, but it was online?
No, but in my mind, I discounted it. I was like,
what you were saying in your
that's
mind.
I was like, it's just an online program.
No, they're hard.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of our age too. When you first got out there, really on online had the stigma. Right. So what do you mean with that? What kind of university is that? It is so common now because it's needed. People are working 40-hour-week jobs and then still trying to pursue the higher education or whatever job they've got. It's almost a necessary. You can't just quit everything and go back and get your master's like you do when you're 22.
Yeah.
If Liz goes and works a year and she goes back to get her master's at like 23. That's different than having had created an entire life and having multiple responsibilities and kids that are of age, but not really.
Like they were driving
alone.
Yeah. Like I said to drive them everywhere. I said to take them to school and pick them up.
Right.
And drop them off at rehearsal and pick them up.
No, I think you go into an online program like that is actually brilliant.
Yeah.
So see your perception. And as a strong female, independent, I actually worked the whole time. So this wasn't part of my journey of, oh, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
It was more of if shifting. The kids were finally old enough to almost drive.
Yeah.
Luce was driving. And so it was more me making sure that I was home enough.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to navigate
because it was just you.
Financial.
Yeah.
Which would have been terrifying.
Oh, it was beyond terrifying.
Like pushed you, like, look at you now. So what are you doing now?
Oh, so like, well, now I still have like my day job. So I still have my current day job where I work for United Way. And then I see clients in the evening as I'm building my mental health practice. And it's good. It's one of those things where I was like, it's vastly different from what I thought it was going to be like. I do love it. Like I absolutely do. And like at certain times where I'm just like, it's hard going back to school and trying to redo yourself, like 47 years old and trying to be like, what am I going to do? And I have to revamp my entire life from the way that I've known it and try and envision a future for myself that I can barely even see what tomorrow's going to bring, and to have faith in that. I look back now and I'm like, I don't know how I did that.
Did you get to a point during that process after the whole like blow up and, okay, I have to step into this even though it's fearful, that you actually got excited for all the change and the possibility? You never got like, the sky's the limit, like we tell our kids. You never felt that for yourself?
Oh, no. I'm like the glass is half full person at that point. Like I was just like, okay, well, no, I would perceive like, okay, yes, I would outwardly say that. I was terrified. Inwardly, I was like, I'm afraid I'm going to fail. What if I'm not going to be good enough? What if I don't do well? What if I get my degree and I have all these student loans now and I'm like, terrible at being a counselor?
Nobody wants to come see me.
Yeah.
Right.
And it just ends up not being feasible for me for whatever reason, And so all those self-doubts, I mean, they are still there to some degree. Like I've gotten much better at it. And as I've become more like in the last year of seeing clients, I'm like, oh, I'm actually good at this.
Yeah, right.
Like now I'm like,
I'm good.
This actually did work out. This is a good choice for me. And it's a good choice to you to go into it older. Well, because then you have life experience,
you have wisdom.
Yeah. And they automatically are like, oh, I'm willing to listen to you because you're not 25. Right. And that those other 25-year-olds are equally as, as educated as I am, but they didn't have the life experience. So in some aspects, I picked a really good career to launch myself into.
Well, because someone my age, I'm not going to go see a 25-year-old for anything that I'm going through because they don't get it.
They don't get it and they haven't been through it. And then like, even now, like all my life experiences, and actually randomly enough, I do a lot of couples counseling, which is not at all what I expected to have done.
Don't you really enjoy it though?
And I actually do enjoy it. And like my supervisor, she started laughing. She was like, because they first gave my first one, I was like, what the heck do I have business seeing married couples?
Oh, you are so hard on yourself.
And I know.
I never knew because she's so sunny and she's so like, it'll all work out. And I got this.
It's going to be great. Yes.
And inside you're like,
yeah. I mean, because that's how I was raised. Right. So, but then I get in there and I'm like, I actually really like this. I like the dynamics. I like that I can see both sides. I see a lot of military families, which works out well because I was that wife for so long. I understand that life and that scenario that goes. The struggles that come when you're middle age and divorce, in marriage, just in general. I mean, like everything kind of like hits the fan. Our hormones, our kids leaving, empty nesting, like all those things that I'm like, oh yeah, it's all hard.
Well, you're very relatable.
Yeah.
Right. You're not pretending to be an expert in all of them, but I get it.
Yeah, I get it. Right? I've been there. I've been
there, or my friends are there, or like these are the topics that we talk about in midlife.
Yeah.
Right. Like the podcast. It's all midlife. Like this is what happens. And it's just being real and truthful. I think people appreciate, even from the experience side, the wisdom side of counseling, that you're real.
Yeah.
Like you're not trying to sugarcoat it or like, oh, look at this. You're just like, some of it just sucks.
Yeah. And life is hard. Life is really hard. And that's the thing, like none of us.
It's really messy.
Yeah. And none of us get through it unscathed. None of us get through it without some form of trauma, whatever that trauma would be, because it's relative to each person. And none of us can do it without help. And like, because that in me, because I was like raised to serve others, that was just been to my core. I think I came out with extra doses of empathy and extra doses of serving. That's just who I am to my core. And being able to be in that role now and being able to see that I have a path forward to keep doing that. And it doesn't impact me. Like it's not changing my life, but it's changing somebody else's life. That gives me so much more fulfillment than I could have ever imagined.
Rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah.
To actually help and see that know that it's going to make an impact, not
Yeah.
that you see it in real time, but
Yeah.
that it's the potential of that. And you were actually always probably meant to do it. And you probably weren't meant to do it until you were 47 because you didn't have the life wisdom. You didn't go through the divorce yet.
Yeah.
You didn't. So I think the universe does work in very mysterious ways. And so even though you were super uncomfortable because you had to,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to run towards this. It was always what you were meant to do.
I think so now. Like when I look back now, I'm like, oh, I would not have been as good of one if I would have started earlier. I don't think, just because I needed that time. I needed those experiences. And then like to your analogy right there, and I decided to run towards it. Like the minute I was like, okay, that's where I'm going. It was like, I was running a race. I was like, I am going to get there. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to make this feasible. And nothing was going to deter me once I decided like that's where I was. But that's kind of like my personality.
I was going to
too.
say that's your personality.
Yeah.
Too. And we all need to pause and take the gathering of information and go through the fear and what if I fail? And that's completely natural whenever you're making any kind of pivot or any kind of change.
Absolutely.
I'm a big, like, I look at all the calculated risks. And then once I say, okay, and then you just go. And if you fail, you fail. But you do need that little period of, it's not pumping yourself up, but actually really saying, okay, the reality is I could fail, or the reality is I could go get it.
Yeah.
And then you have your girls watching.
Yeah.
And so knowing they're watching everything I'm doing and they're going to have pivots in their life. We all do. We all do. We all probably have to reinvent ourselves at least 3 to 4 times. It's just normal now, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way the world works. Like,
yes.
People aren't staying in one job for 40 years, thank God. But you can take your gifts and talents like you have without even knowing it, kind of shaped you down in this road. And now it's opening up in a different way where you might be seeing clients that it wasn't your intention, but you find, oh, I'm actually really enjoying something I didn't think that I would have wanted to in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. I want to be a sports therapist, but I just love treating people that want to like, I just want to pick up my grandkids, Chrissy, things like that.
Yeah.
I also don't want to be on the field till 10 o'clock at night. Like when you start getting your own life and you go, oh, that's ego.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And ego is a big one to have to deal with. I mean, even in divorce, like ego is super present. And I think that's what has us holding on to being super angry, that for blaming the other person solely for not taking accountability. Mm-hmm. Is our ego gets the best of us. Mm-hmm. And we all have it. That's the thing too. It's like, oh, I don't have that. I'm not an egotistical person. That's not me. Oh, we all Everybody do in some way. We all have it. Yeah.
And I talk to my ego a lot. Like, are you really coming out right now? And sometimes I've said, okay, are you sure we want to do this? Because the consequences, you're not being your peace and love. And sometimes it's like, yeah, we're going to say it. And it comes out. But at least I know when she's showing up more now. Uh-huh. You got to let them out every now and then. Otherwise, they just eat you alive on the inside.
Absolutely.
But being aware of that is, and then saying, okay, that's enough.
Mm-hmm. Right? Like I'm going to go that far.
And you're going to roll it back in.
And be like, okay.
And then let's reassess and let's go back to the peace and love. But yeah, everybody has one. And so to think that we can separate from it, you can step out of it, but it's kind of like that movie, Beautiful Minds.
Yeah.
Right? Where he's got the people that he always sees. And it's not like he was cured from schizophrenia, but they're always traveling there. And he looks at them. He just doesn't engage in them.
Yeah.
And so I liken that to your ego. She hangs out.
Oh, she's always there.
And she's always watching. Yep. And she's like, you sure you don't want to say this?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I
got something.
We could do this one. And you're just like,
yeah.
Right?
Like, not right now. Like, that one's not worth it. And they're like, oh, I think it's worth it. I mean, and these are like all the internal conversations.
Yeah, and then be like, I think you should reconsider. And you go, okay, well, let me look at it a little bit. And sometimes, like I said, you shift that. But the ego is really there. It goes into automatic protection for you. So it is a protection, not necessarily correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's when you fire for effect. That's what I call it. Oh, I'm going to just say this right now. I'm going to get a reaction out of you. And so you just fire for the effect. Not even what you're saying is truly what you mean. You just want to get a reaction from the other person.
Pure ego. We're just saying that it's there doesn't mean that you let it go rampant. It's just, if you can accept the fact that we all have an ego and that nobody's perfect and it's all going to come out and it's always about regrouping, having the wisdom. She starts to speak a little differently.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Because you have to acknowledge that it's there. And I think most of us just walk around pretending that it's not there. And it's just like, but it is.
It is. It is there.
And they're like, oh, because they think that it's bad. Like, oh, if you have an ego, there's something like, oh, you're egotistical. You're like some type of person. No, we all have it.
Oh, and we all have pride. Pride can go down separate lanes. Not pride like, I'm so good. And it can be, I'm prideful that I help people.
Yeah.
So it's all in the reframing, but pride and ego are always there. And so it's just how we frame it, how we interact with it, and just accept it.
Yeah. 100%.
Then I feel like we're more real. When I say, oh no, like when we're talking in this interview, I was totally an ego. Just owning it. It doesn't make it right or wrong, but knowing that like she's just a real person, just like anyone else who's going to have a moment where like, I actually am going to use my words to hurt you.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm going to feel bad later. I will have to apologize. And you're not thinking about that. But then your higher self comes in and says, that was hurtful. And
Yeah.
I know, I'm sorry. But this is the conversation that goes on
all day long.
So if you think you're odd because that happens, no, all of us.
But we should be listening to that inner voice, though. We should be checking ourselves. Like we should be like, okay, is this something that I really, truly want to say? Is this something that matters enough for me for the consequence that's going to come from it? These dialogues are something that I'm so glad I've been able to teach my children how to do those and be like, okay, like you need to think before you speak.
Oh, I've had so many comments, especially my daughter.
Yeah.
It's like, roll it back.
Right. Yeah. Not everything needs to come out.
I just want to pause. And for her, it was the emotion overload.
Yeah.
She could and we could deal with it. But I said, you can't throw up on everyone like that. And then 5 minutes later, say, let's go have lunch.
Yeah.
Like people don't understand. And so teaching her to feel her emotions without everybody having to feel them.
Yeah.
And then get to a space, process, and then be able to communicate them so that your words don't match your rage.
Yeah.
Right. But you want to feel that because you don't want to get caught anywhere.
Yeah.
So those are a little bit teenager, older kid lessons. I mean, I started with Luce when she was like in 4th grade, appropriate. But
yeah,
I was like, well, honey, you can't you got to breathe. It was a lot
of
breathe.
Yes.
I want you to pause for a minute. Pause was a big thing. And so now it's natural to them, which I think is super helpful.
It's super helpful. And even again, like when I look back, I could be like, okay, there were some things that I did that were not like, I mean, again, not anything like egregious, nothing like super wrong, but I'm like, okay, like, if the fact that I didn't voice my displeasure or things that were bothering me at a sooner time,
pennies in a jar.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the jar is full. It's going to spill over.
Yeah. That's a great one.
Right. Or marbles, whatever you want. But every time you didn't do it, you put a little marble in there.
And I wasn't even aware that was happening, and I was like, oh no, like we're super good. Like I do say some things, I stand up for myself on these things that sometimes other times I didn't do here. But at the same time, I wasn't doing enough of that. And I can look back, be like, okay, well, no wonder some of this caught him off guard at a later date, because all of a sudden I was like, well, by the way, bleh, and I could like verbally vomit on him. And he was like, I'm sorry. Like, what are you talking about? Like you've never complained about that before. And I was like, oh, I should have. But even at the time, I couldn't even have said I should have. Looking back now, I'm like, oh, I should have said something earlier.
Well, and don't you find that that's just your own personal growth for future relationships, current relationships, on learning and also teaching your girls how to use their voice?
Yeah.
Talk as you go. Because I'm always like, get it out as you go. Think about how you're going to say it, of course.
Yeah.
But get it out as you go. Because communication is really the key to all relationships.
Everything. Like you're with your parents, your siblings, your coworkers, everything. If you don't communicate well, you're never going to have really true connections with anyone.
Well, and also learning to communicate without throwing up on people.
Yeah.
So there's the other where it's like you're overload because you're just saying everything, but you haven't framed it in an appropriate manner for the person that you're directing that at and picking and choosing. So then people don't listen to you also because now you're just crazy.
Or feeling somebody else is like they have to carry your burden, your feelings for you. Like, okay, you're now responsible for how I'm feeling. So now you have to fix it.
And what are you going to do for it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And no one's going to fix anything for you.
No, it all has to come from us. All the work has to come from within inside of us to be able to truly be able to move forward. And that was like, thank goodness when I look back, like I'm so thankful that I'd done the work before all this happened, because it didn't make it less hard, but it made it easier in some ways, because then I at least had some skills to fall back onto.
You had some tools. Right?
Like, oh, okay. I understood what accountability was. I understood like certain things. I understood owning my part, what it meant to truly let go and not be resentful.
That's a hard one.
And that's a hard one. And I was very intentional about that. I didn't want to be resentful.
Me neither. And my resentment was building over many years of trying to communicate, not getting the communication that I wanted or needed. But it was nice that when we parted ways as partners, and I was very conscious of not family, but partners, that any resentment I carried as a partner of what he did, didn't do, what we were, what we weren't, I actually was able to let go pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's
it could have been because it took me a really long time to get to the point. I didn't even use the divorce word. I think I told you before we started recording, I just said, I don't want to be married anymore. I couldn't even say the word.
Yeah.
Because, it's a little bit of that stigma because it does sound really hard. I don't know if I consciously use that word. I just say I'm not married. I mean, obviously, I don't say obviously, but I have 2 kids and I'm 53. There was somebody that created them.
Yeah, that doesn't appear out of air.
Right. But the divorce has such a nasty.
The connotation with it is, it does. It's like, there must be something wrong with you.
No, I don't even go. I'm good. I've done a lot of work where I'm like, no, this is where.
That's how I assumed people saw divorce beforehand. Now I'm like, it just didn't work.
Exactly. It's it's more empowering in the sense that, no, I realized I didn't want to do that for 30 more years.
Yeah.
And so I'm, let's say, living my authentic life, but I'm choosing me at some point because I was the one who took care of everyone. So at that point, leaving that was saying, hey, I'm going to choose me. And like I told you, I felt like I was starting to get an autoimmune disorder because my stress level was so high. And that wasn't because of a person. It was what I was creating in my life of what I was allowing myself or creating for myself to be responsible for. And everything was, I had to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's not anybody's but mine. But I got to the point where I was getting really close to like blowing out my nervous system. And when you go there, you don't get to go back to 100%. You go back at like 70, 80% when you heal. And so I had to start saying, okay, here's the consequence.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? And so my health was my fear factor of, okay, I need to start really looking at this stuff and what is mine and what isn't mine.
Yeah.
And start that journey from there. So let's talk about the girls a little bit in the sense of your relationship now. So how has the divorce, how you handled the divorce, the going to school, all the tools, and you actually being a counselor now yourself, how has that changed or shaped your relationship with the girls now? How you parent?
Yeah. Like I'd say, so to the first part, like to the girls, like I would say, I think that situation, like we've always already been incredibly close. Like I gotta thank my lucky stars that however things worked, like I never had the teenage angst years. They never slammed doors. They never told me they hated me. They never like holed up in their room. Like we did, we're always in the living room all together.
I know, but you guys all have such the same energy. If you would talk to my kids, they'd be like, oh no, they're the nicest kids that you'll actually ever meet. They're just not mean. They're just not mean spirited. So I don't know if they could have gone through that slamming the door.
Oh, I don't know.
They would have been like, oh my God, I'm so rude. I'm so sorry. They also share your bright light.
Yeah. So maybe that's it. But I would be doing homework in the office and they would be like right outside and they didn't want to do homework in the room because they would still want just to all kind of like be by each other. And where I never would have thought it could have made us closer, it has made us incredibly closer, especially as they've gotten older. My oldest was going out last night and she's like, hey, Mom, I'm just let you know I'm going out to the bars tonight. She goes, but don't worry, I'm walking because they're right by my house and I'm with people that I know, but I just want you to know where I'm going to be. And I'm like, honey, like you're 21. Like you still don't have to check in. It's okay. Thank you. But they do.
Same.
And then and ironically, and then my younger one sends me a text message and she's like, by the way, in case you check my location, I'm at the hospital. It's not me. My roommate got sick last night and we brought her here. So call me when you wake up. And I'm like, like, what is this? And they're not afraid they're not going to get in trouble anymore because now they're like, oh, we feel really confident. But I know for them now, like my role, I've never been more confident in my role in their life than I am right now. I'm their person, and I'm not always going to be their person, but I am right now. And I'm like that touch point to come back to be like, hey, I got to run this by you. What about this? What do you think? They worry about me more so than they do their dad. And they're very honest about that because they're just like, but you're by yourself. And even when he was by himself, they were so like, it's okay. He can handle himself, but you can't. And not that I couldn't, but they knew that I could, but they've always been more worried about me. They don't want me to be by myself. They worry about me being home alone, and I don't know if it's just because I'm mom or whatever that is, or just because like clearly Eric has a lot of skills.
True. I think it's a connection thing.
Yeah. And so I'm their touch point.
And just know that I feel the same way about mine, but you worked really hard for that over very many years. That doesn't just turn on. Some people say, how come my kids? I said, oh no, that's a lot of holding space, verbal punches in the face. Not that I hate you, but just their growing up pain.
Yeah, because it's hard.
And starting to realize, oh, this doesn't have anything to do with me, even though she's being a brat. It's just, and being able to hold that, what you have now and what I have now is created over many, many years of showing up and owning your own stuff because now they respect you.
Yeah, that's a good, yes, they do.
Right. So they
Mm-hmm.
respect you as a human, as a person. That's where that worry comes from. They got to see you pivot and come out shining. And so I can see why your confidence is, I've never been more confident than now, because they've seen it, but you know, you have the tools to be like, hey, dust yourself off.
Oh yeah.
What are we going to do?
It was like when I made that choice, when I took off my rings and I was like, here we go. It was like a shift in me. All right, well, like now, girl, you got nothing. You are going to figure it out because you don't have a choice. And I was not going to be a victim. I was not going to not succeed. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I was going to find a way forward for myself because I owed it to me and I owed it to my kids. And I knew it was going to be different. It was going to be different from anything that I ever imagined. Again, like we already said, like nobody gets married expecting to get divorced.
Mm-mm.
If you would have ever have told me that I thought that this would have ever been an option, I still would have been like, no. Even up until the day that it happened, I would have been like, yeah, like things are rocky, but I really feel like we can get through this. I was probably too optimistic because looking back now, I could be like, oh, yeah, there were some things there that I just didn't notice before.
We noticed you didn't want to look at, or we didn't have the upbringing or the tools to see at that point. Yeah, I always thought it would just get better. It was that internal hope of, well, it'll get better. It'll change. Or when this happens, that will shift.
Yes.
And then that thing would go by and it wouldn't shift. And then, well, when this happens, it'll shift. And then it wouldn't shift. And then so at some point, I had to get really real with myself and say, live in reality. And the whole podcast, a lot of the life coaching that I do is very much like live in the now.
Mm-hmm.
So quit telling yourself a story. Good, bad, ugly. Don't project or perceive. It's just literal. Like, what is it? And it was a lot of, we talked about this earlier. If he wanted to, he would. That was a big thing for me of not, hope can be a dangerous thing when it's like over hopeful, right? When you cut out the reality part of that. And so that's where the kicking the can, because it's like, oh, or me granting grace in a sense that he didn't necessarily tell me what his blocks or what he's struggling with. I just gave the story to him and be like, oh, well, you know, no, that's wrong. You give them their own and they get to work with their own, whether they want to or not. And then I've got enough of my own stuff. I've got to filter through and figure out, is this childhood? Is this, what are my issues?
Yeah. But that's hard. And most people don't want to do that work.
No, but it's so much better on the other side.
It is 1,000%. I mean, because we all have something. That's the thing too. Like everyone's like, oh, I had a really good childhood. Like I had nothing, like my parents are still married. I didn't really, nothing ever really went wrong. Like everything's been great. And you're like, there's something. Like if we always go back, there's always something to be like, okay.
And it didn't have to happen purposefully. It was just how you reacted as a child, your perception of a situation. It doesn't mean that our parents were awful and this and that. And then there's the generational parenting shift of just what culture was when we grew up. So there are a lot of us that felt like uncared for. It's the little, you know, I did grow up in the feral years of you just come home when it's dark out and they don't come home.
Yeah. I mean,
I always joke, like, walked out of the house because their mom was watching all my children and they were not allowed to come home during the, even if their moms were at home. It was like so weird. My mom always worked. So we were just like, you got to get home before dinner, but we did our own thing. And some of that made us very independent. I never felt like we were unloved. I joke about it now because I was like, a little feral.
I do too.
But people pick things up along that way. Like your issues. Yeah. And then like, look at our whole generation. We sort of overparented when they were very little, the participation trophies.
Yes, we did.
And now we're trying to back out of that with like, no, failure is good. Go try. Yeah. Don't worry about it. You can skin your knee. It'll heal. Go. And we didn't do that when they were very little. Because the culture then was very, let me remove them out of that situation. Yeah.
I need to craft everything for them so that it's like a safe, nurturing bubble for them to grow up in.
And you know what? We blew it a little bit. Yeah. We had it, at least you and I, some of us started unraveling that as we started saying, oh, we can't go down this road.
Yeah.
But many of them stayed on that road. And there's a whole there are a lot of young 20s that are really lost right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to start reframe, particularly the boys.
Yeah.
But we have to build a different foundation of not the bubble.
Yeah.
And we have to walk the walk because you can't build the bubble for them. And then they see you going through this divorce and like, where does it fracture? And it can fracture really big when something like that changes. Like, but you just told me my whole life that it's going to be wonderful and we're going to be nurtured. And then this happens. Like,
yeah. With my girl, like I was super intentional for probably the first 8 years where I was like, I would not volunteer for anything that was like in town. I wouldn't do things at the school. We would drive to San Diego and we'd repaint apartments for refugees that were coming in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we would go to LA to do certain things. I was so determined that they had to learn to care about things that did not impact them. We built schools in Puerto Rico, in Afghanistan, Sudan. And so I told them all these things, and I would share with them, like, where we live, this is not normal. Do not expect this, like a little bubble that you guys live in. And that was my biggest fear about moving here, is that they were going to think that this is what they were supposed to be given. So I always made a point to try and take them out to see the reality of the world and what to expect. This was still something that I did not prepare them for, because how could I have prepared them for it on that emotional level? But I would say, like, now back to parenting, when you said the co-parent, Eric and I were really good friends. Like, we have gotten to a great point. And I think he probably had a little bit more faith that we would be than I did. I think just because he was kind of like in denial. I think part of him was like, I just can't have it if you're going to be mad at me forever. I can't imagine that. So please don't make that be. But once we got past like that hurdle, and we always actually co-parented very well. I was just like, just don't talk to me outside the kids. And then it kind of like shifted. And I mean, we've gone to dinner by ourselves. Like, before the girls had their plays, we'd go meet, we'd have dinner, and then we'd go up to their play together. We've gotten to like a really good point now. And even like our kids are grown, I'll be like, hey, did you hear this about, like, I'll text, hey, the kids just told me this. Have you heard that? Right. And it works really well. And he's always going to be my family. I want him to be happy. I want him to thrive. I want him to find his place, like whatever that has to be, even without me, because he deserves it.
And that's how you know you're on the other side.
Yeah.
It's because we can wish for happiness for everyone, particularly your ex.
Yeah.
When you can wish and want happiness for them to, whether it is find their life, their people, their purpose. I think, I don't know if we're fully healed, because it is very traumatic, but you're healed enough.
Yeah.
That, yes, now he can be family. And now the resentment's gone. There's just not there. It's just friendship.
Yeah. And the anger's not there. I don't see him and instantly be like, oh, I can't stand you. Like, that's not there. And I'm so thankful for that. But that only came with work. That only came on my end. Like, he actually was never super angry at me. And he'll tell you, like, I wasn't ever really mad at you. And I was just like, really? And he's like, yeah.
Felt like
no. He's like, yeah. He's like, because you're just a great person. He's like, I just wasn't working.
Yes.
But, you know.
Now you can hear it.
Now I can hear
what it is now.
Yeah. And like, but I was like, oh, but I was mad at you. And he's like, oh, I know. And he's like, but I also
joke about it now.
Yeah. But he's like, I earned that. You should have been mad at me. And I think for us too, because like the first 10 years, like, he was gone all the time, and we did super well. We excelled at it. Like, not even going to lie. We were like, oh, so when you come home, we got this. Like, this is going to be easy. And then there's like, you know, the different phases, just like I had to figure out like what my identity was without being a wife anymore. And then when my kids went away to school, then I was no longer like a mom, like with like the kids there. So those two big hurdles for me to overcome. He had his own one to overcome of like no longer being in the military, no longer being that special person. And where do you fit in civilian world anymore? And that like, oh, I should be on the battlefield still, all these other things. So he had his own personal journey that he was on that I didn't recognize at the time. He didn't recognize at the time. Played into a lot of those cracks in our foundation. But because we did so well for that first time, we're like, oh, we are unbreakable. And no one's unbreakable. No one's unbreakable if you don't put in the work and pay attention.
Yes.
And we didn't pay attention because things were good enough. And then all of a sudden they weren't.
I don't think that your story is uncommon.
No.
The way it goes down
is always unique to everybody.
Yeah. But that's not uncommon. We don't see the cracks. You know, it's good enough. Everybody's tired. Everybody's doing their part. And then at some point, like you said, no, you're a great person. Something's not fitting. It's not working.
Yeah.
And it's because we didn't, look at all this stuff along the way.
But then you also have the people who choose to be like, okay, I'm not going to get divorced in midlife because I don't want to start over. And so I'm going to accept this because the unknown is too hard, or I don't want to be alone, or I don't want this other stuff, And so that's like a whole other layer there. Where it's like, okay, like, well, then what am I teaching my kids?
Well, that was what it came down to for me too.
Yeah.
And I don't judge. I see not all marriages that are together are great. So just because you see that ring, I wouldn't assume.
Right. You shouldn't.
Right?
Yeah.
Either way, sometimes I'm always like, oh. And, like I said, no judgment. But if people choose to stay because it's good enough,
then that's what works for them.
Yeah. And then they're going to have to fill in that what's not good enough with something within themselves or their circle or their group or their own interests. And if it works, okay.
Yeah.
I just knew I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Looking like now, like you said, like now that I'm on the other side, I can look back now and be like, okay, like, even though I never would have wanted that to have happened, and I wouldn't have wanted to go through it. I didn't want my kids to go through it. I didn't want him to go through any of that, and all my loved ones. Now I can say it probably actually was the right thing. But I would not have said that for the first few years because I was struggling so much. And I was like, I don't know. Maybe it just would have been easier to have not gotten divorced and just been like, okay, I will accept whatever behavior, but let's like at least stay married on paper and combine our incomes and all this other stuff. And you can go live wherever you want. So maybe I could have found a way around all of that. But then like looking back now, I'm like, oh no, it's so much better for me to be where in the space that I am today. Cause I never would have been here. I wouldn't have gone back to school
Right.
if I would have stayed married.
Right.
Would have gone back to work full time, but I wouldn't have been the same way.
Yeah.
And now I have, as weird as it is, I have more confidence now at 51 than I have had in my entire life. Like even in my 20s when you feel like you know it all and you're like the world's your stage.
You do hard things and we're real now and we know life blows up in an instant.
Yeah.
And you've proven to yourself now you can get through anything.
Yeah.
So there's a certain sense of, all right, well, I don't want any bad things, but whatever life throws at me, I'll be okay.
Yeah. I'm just going to put in a request for like some rainbows and unicorns. Yeah. I'd like it to be a little bit.
Yeah. Wait, I'm ready for some ease.
I'm ready for some ease.
More hard.
Right.
And so I have to check with myself, like, are you making your life hard right now?
Yeah.
Because I have made my life very hard in some ways. And so part of that's like just checking in, like, are we choosing the hard route just because we're used to the hard route? Because if there's an easier one, we're going to call in the rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah.
It's time.
It's time.
But we also have to be conscious of that.
Yeah.
Of patterning of, I tend to go here because I accomplished something and it, hard way or the no way. And it's like, I'm so done with all that.
But when we're hard though, like then it's busy, right? Then when our minds are occupied, we're like, okay, I can't do that right now. I can't do that right now because I have to stay focused on this or have whatever. So it really keeps you from being in the present because you have to finish this other thing. So I think it's harder in some aspects to be okay, like, I'm going to pause. I'm right here in the present. I have to sit with myself. I have to figure this out. What's happening today, not what's going to happen like in 4 months from now.
I'm in the now.
I'm in the now, and the now is hard because the now is reality.
And you're never really out of the now. You can plan, but we're always in today. And it's hard. Today is hard. Today is messy. But knowing you can get through it, I don't know. I don't want to say bring it on, but that's where the peace and the confidence comes from. It's like, tomorrow will be another day and I'll get through this. Of course, we're going to call in more harmonious days. But in the now, like in general, I don't expect anything to be handed to me. But I think as I'm getting older, I'm kind of calling in a little more ease.
Yeah, absolutely. Because now we're like, okay, protecting my peace. That is huge. And now it's like, okay, that is.
Now we know what everybody was talking about when we were younger.
Yeah.
This is protecting your peace. We just go out and
go out and do things. And like now I'm very intentional. Like, okay, now I need to protect my peace. Like, is this worth it for me? Is it worth for me to engage in that? And if it is, then I'm all in. If I'm like, no, that's not worth it for me, then I give myself permission to step back. And it's not just because I'm like, it's not important to me. It's just not worth impacting my peace at that moment. And so now I'm way more intentional.
And that might be day to day. Yeah. I might need more peace one day than I do another.
Yeah.
And so it's case by case. So I don't automatically say yes to everything like I might have when I was younger. But
now we're teaching our kids that too. So like I know like my kids are watching and then when they see me like remove myself from a situation or whatever it is, they're just like, oh, and they'll ask me like, well, why? And I'll be like, oh, because that wasn't a good spot for me. I learned how to lay boundaries and which is something I did not have before. And those are all things like you're hoping to teach them, but then they got to watch it. And then that's like the beauty of them also being at the age that they're at. It's like they can understand it and they can voice it now and be like, oh, I saw that you just did that. And I'm like, that's awesome. I'm going to do the same thing. And you're like, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's empowering.
It is super empowering.
So I know we both say nobody plans for divorce. Everybody thinks it's forever. We hope so. But now that you've had a chance, divorce gave you the chance to sort of rewrite your story, right? Yeah. Not necessarily embrace, but it did give you that chance. And who did you discover yourself to be on the other side of that?
Oh yeah, that's a chapter of my story that I never wanted to write. But what it showed me about me is that I'm much stronger than I ever gave myself credit for. That, yeah, we can do hard things. And I had done hard things and I knew that before. And I was like, okay, I knew I could handle certain stuff. But this was on a different level than other stuff. You expect to lose parents as they get older. You lose jobs. Like all that stuff was like normal stuff that was talked about. Nobody talks about divorce. Nobody really talks about what it is on the other side of it or how you're supposed to find yourself. We are starting to now. But I mean, growing up, like we didn't. So there's like,
because there was a lot of shame.
It was, and
the D word,
the D word, and that stigma that was attached to it. That was really hard for me to get over. Was the stigma of like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to think something is wrong with me when they find out that I got divorced. And I think that was my kids' fear too. That's why they didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody for months because they told me not to. A handful of people knew, but even like my friends that knew did not tell their kids because their kids didn't know because my kids wouldn't tell them. I was like, this is so bizarre. But okay. And I was trying to honor their wishes, but then I think, and also part of me that created like that even more so of that, my fear of that stigma was just coming true. So that a lot of what I put on myself, or like a lot of what I was feeling is stuff that I put on myself, that was all self-imposed. And I wouldn't have said that beforehand. I am stronger. I am capable. I can create a life for myself, like where I can be financially independent. You know, is it a struggle? Absolutely, because we live in a very expensive place. Do I have a foolproof 100% plan? No. But am I willing to go down that road and keep fighting for it? Yes. And so it really just taught me what I already knew, but I didn't believe. Like that whole adage, like when life hands you lemon, you make lemonade. It's okay. Yeah, but that is true. Like life didn't go the way I wanted it to go in many aspects over my entire life, but especially at that. I never would have imagined at 46 years old, I was going to be getting a divorce. And like my world was turned upside down. And by my own strength and willpower and the people who loved me in my life that supported me, I righted my world. And I'm so grateful for that aspect because of what it's shown me about myself and that I would not have had that opportunity. So not that I ever wanted to get divorced, but I'm so proud of where I've come now and what I learned about myself that I would do it again just to have that, to be where I am.
Well, and knowing you now, seeing you now right here, because I haven't seen her since the kids all went off.
Yeah.
It was pre-divorce. And I asked her to come on the podcast because it was sort of in passing as we were walking because we live in the same neighborhood. And, oh, how are you? Oh, I did too. Oh, and then so I said, I'd love to have you on. The confidence and strength in your words, in your posturing is all so elevated from when I knew you from the APTA.
Yeah.
I mean, just, you know, without a doubt that you will find a way and you're going to take your girls with you and you're going to show them that they can do it. And that only comes when people have gone through really hard things.
Yeah. And we're afraid of hard things because we don't want to.
Well, nobody wants to.
Nobody wants to.
But you, just like you said, you'd actually go through it again if you knew that what you were going to get on the other side. Because
100%.
The things you get from completing and getting through hard things is invaluable.
Yes.
Priceless for your self-esteem, your self-worth, just knowing you can do it.
Yeah.
And then the key for us as parents is we're walking the walk, and now I can pull them along the way with me.
Yeah.
And say, not, look, I did it, you can do it, but a little bit because they're watching.
They're watching. And for me too, I wanted to look at myself in the mirror and be like, I did everything that I could. That was even with my marriage. When I was going to like marriage counseling, I was like, I need to be able to look my kids in the face and look myself in the face and say that I tried everything. And that was all. And I knew that's what I had to do. And I want them to do that. I want everybody to do that. We're all going to say, we're going to have hard times again, still coming ahead of us. Like we know we are, because that is life. Do you wish we didn't have adversity? Yes. Do we grow from adversity? Yes. I would like to make things as easy as I can for the people I love. And I don't have that power to do that. But I also know that I have the power to support them and to love them and to guide them as much as I can when they go through it. And then I also know that I can pull from my resources for myself when those times come. And that's probably the greatest gift I think I've ever given myself.
I think so too.
So that makes me really happy for that.
There's a knowing, and you can see there's just a knowing. It's in your whole aura. There's a knowing now. It radiates.
Yeah.
Like I said, she's always had very sunny, upbeat, but now there's I don't know. It's like you radiate from here now because there's this knowing that I can do it. Not in an arrogant way, but I'll find a way because I have the resources. You're confident enough in whatever is innately going to come forward because you've already done it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I can trust in myself. And I didn't trust in myself beforehand. Like I had trust in who I felt like I was supposed to be. I entrusted in my sunny personality, like my always raising my hand, my saying yes, my enabling, my making sure that everybody around me was happy first and then me second. Like all those things I had trust in because I knew those made everything around me, people around me happier, and it made my world very easy. But then now I know that like for the first time, I have trust in who I am, in my decision making, in my ability that I didn't have before because I didn't have to.
And there's something about the when you have to step up and you do, it feels good.
Oh, it feels fantastic. As scary as it is. Yeah.
So do you think that that is the biggest truth for yourself now about life after divorce? Is that your biggest?
So that's my biggest truth. It is. Could we found a way? I don't know. But I also don't ruminate on that anymore. Like I can't. And I think my biggest truth is now is we can do hard things. I can do hard things. I know that now without a doubt who I am more so than I ever did before, which I find super baffling for that to be the case. I don't know if it's just also just like middle age, if that's where that's coming from at the same time. But I think at the end of it is like, I can say like, I'm pretty badass. I can do hard things.
I love
can
that you'd say that because she's usually so proper. She would even say
that. You know, to be like, okay, like I can turn things around. And it's not like I did it all on my own. I have an amazing community of support. And that has been pivotal in me being able to do what I've done. But at the same time, at the end of the day, it was like me having to make all those choices, me having to make the decisions, the choices to believe in myself and to follow through on it and not have it just be empty words. At the beginning, it was kind of empty words. I was like, oh, I'm going to show you.
I'm just going to fake it till I make it.
Yeah. And then it became like, oh no, now I want this for me.
Yes. Yes. I always said a lot of my growth that I've looked at or the struggles that I've gone into my work, they started off for my kids.
Yeah.
I didn't want them to go through it. I didn't want them to be messed up. I didn't want them, what are they going to think of me if I don't? And then somewhere along the way, it became about me.
Yeah.
And although it's still not just for them, but it's for me, they will get the benefit from it.
Absolutely.
And when that switches, I don't know, there's an empowerment that goes on. The people pleasing, the enabling starts to shut off because you're getting a benefit, but you really probably wouldn't even look at it if you thought your kids weren't going to be in danger of following in your path. But then when you step on it for you, it feels very different.
Like as it should be, right? Like then it's good and it's personal. And then you're starting to reap the benefits for yourself and not for others.
I think there's a bit of self-love that comes in. Yeah. Right? It's like, oh, I am worthy. I am going to love myself. I am going to nurture myself because I'm important.
And I never gave myself self-love, to be honest. Like I didn't. I was like, oh, my love came from serving everyone around me. Because like from the day I was born, that's what we were told. You be humble, you be kind, you serve others. And that's how I was raised. And that was like all I knew. And so when it came time to be like, how do I go to little me, where like little Belisa is inside of me, like how do I go to her and nurture her and bring her out to where the woman that I need her to be today? And I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know self-love. Yes, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take a bath. I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna eat not the same. But when you're like, okay, no, I need to nurture and recognize all these feelings, the good ones and the bad ones that I am feeling on a daily basis. I feel like I have like a TV in the back of my mind that's constantly playing old memories, clips, whatever it is. I don't even realize that it's there, but my subconscious does. And that's when my negative voice comes up. That's when my self-doubts come up. It's because something is playing back there that I don't realize what it is. But until I can touch it and recognize it and be like, oh, I can let that one go. I don't need to be carrying that anymore. And then that gave me such a sense of freedom and allowed me to like truly love myself. And I never would have said that I didn't love myself before if I wouldn't have gone through this.
It's different though, isn't it?
It's and you don't want it for anybody, by the way. I don't want anybody to have to go through this.
No.
Like I want everybody to find their own self-love without having to go through the same steps. But it's recognizing that what you need that and what that is. And it's going to be unique to all of us, but we truly do have to love ourselves first and foremost.
And so if someone is listening that's in the middle of their own divorce and they're hurting and they're scared and they're uncertain, what would you want them to know?
First, I'd want to say, I'm sorry, because that is hard. It's a hard place to be. And I wish nobody else had to go there. But I would also say, rely on who you know that you are. Rely on the people around you, the community that you've created, your family, your love, whoever those people are. And don't give up. Like you need to craft the life that you want for yourself, like whatever that looks like. And everybody's is different. And then go after it as hard as it is. Like, even if it means you're ending up in student loan debt till you die, that's going to be me. Like, but it's like,
go for it.
Go for it. You can. And there is beauty and there is happiness and there is contentment on the other side. And it doesn't have to be wrapped up in a relationship. It doesn't have to be wrapped up in finding somebody else. It's only wrapped up in you. That's what I want everyone to pull away. You are good enough on your own. You're good enough who you are. A relationship does not define you. You define you. And don't let anyone ever try and dim that light, because we all have it.
We do all have it.
Mm-hmm.
And yours is shining so bright. I can't even tell you. I love it. I love when people overcome, because I must have been really, really scary.
Well, it was scary for you too. Like, we both had to overcome. Like,
In
it's
different
never,
ways. Yeah.
and it's never a decision to make lightly. It should be like, oh yeah, okay, let's get divorced. Who cares? It should be one that takes thought, and you should put work in behind it, just even for your own sake, to look at your soul and be like, okay,
Your soul.
I did what I could, and it was still not serving me, and it's okay. And that's the other thing too. Like, it is okay to be divorced. It's okay to say, this is no longer serving me. This is no longer working for me. It doesn't mean you failed. And that's the one thing I told my kids too. We didn't fail.
No,
we had a really, really good marriage for many years.
Yes.
We raised amazing children. I have amazing stepchildren outside of it. And it's not a failure. It was just a chapter that needed to close.
Right.
And now we're moving on to a new story. And it's all okay.
And it's all okay. And it'll all be fine.
It'll all be fine.
It really will. It really will. So, Belisa, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Honesty and your courage is admirable. I know it's hard to come on and be a vulnerable voice, much needed right now in this time. I think that women really need to hear from women like you, who have gone through hard things and who have gotten to the other side, and really acknowledge that the hard and the messy, but it'll still be okay.
It'll still be okay.
You
We'll
know?
find a way.
And don't we as women always find a way?
We always find a way.
Agreed.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be the way, it can be exact opposite of the way that you thought it was going to be.
And that's okay too. It is, but then you go, wow, okay, this is good too.
Yeah.
Right. And so planning for it, but just being adaptable and flexible as you go along the way. And the universe sort of helps out there and gets you along the path that's going to be your next path. And it doesn't have to be the only path.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, there's many paths that we can travel. We're going to get on and off the different ones through our lifetime. And we're meant to. Like, I don't think anyone's meant to necessarily have to feel pain and trauma, but you're not ever going to get without some of that. And I also think you're not going to get anything if you don't work for it. If you don't try,
100%,
things are never going to get better. If you don't try to figure your path forward, it's not going to magically fall into your lap. It takes work. It takes effort. It takes facing that fear of failure.
It's just, you're going to get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. So whatever that other side looks like, what you put into it is what you will get out of it.
Yeah.
And that's like many things in life, but particularly with this, because, divorce is one of those shifts that doesn't just end a relationship, right?
And friendships.
Reshape. Oh, yes. All the way down.
Yeah.
And it can end some family closeness, but it also reshapes your identity, your family, and the very ground that you stand on.
100%.
Right.
And nothing prepares you for that.
No. So if you're listening and you're walking through a similar season, I hope this conversation reminds you that while divorce feels like an ending, it can also be the beginning of a deeper truth. You're not alone in that process of letting go and rebuilding. Join us next week as we continue the mini-series of The Unexpected, where we're exploring the turns we never planned for and the roles we never imagined carrying, and how even in the hardest places, truth rises. Our shift has ended for today. Stay curious, stay present, and stay in truth.